Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. There's a lot happened since we talked yesterday, so hang on. Here we go. Yesterday, it was 2,000 National Guard. Now, President Donald Trump has added a battalion of 500 U.S. Marines being mobilized to Los Angeles to respond to anti-immigration enforcement riots. Meanwhile, the president suggested he would be willing to arrest California Governor Gavin Newsom if his administration obstructs ICE operations amid riots in Los Angeles. Caught up in the chaos with Crazy Maxine, Representative Maxine Waters had a federal building door slammed in her face during the L.A. migrant riots and was caught on video taunting armed agents, asking if they planned to shoot her. More than 100 Democrats voted against a House GOP-led resolution to condemn the accused terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. There is some good news, and I'll share that with you a little later in the show. And a state senator in South Carolina is asking the state's highest court to halt a $2,500 monthly raise that legislators voted for themselves.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
A battalion of 500 U.S. Marines are mobilizing to Los Angeles to respond to the anti-immigration enforcement riots. The Marines will be tasked with protecting federal property, federal personnel, according to a senior defense official, and the deployment is open-ended. They said the Marines will not be carrying out a law enforcement role, but it's unclear what their use of force rules are if protesters throw things or spit at them or attack them. The new deployment comes after President Trump sent some 2,000 National Guardsmen to the riot-racked city over the weekend. The Marines are from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines at Twentynine Palms, California. Moments before the deployment, President Trump expressed optimism that the situation in Los Angeles is improving. He told reporters, I think we have it well under control. I think it would have been a very bad situation. It was heading in the wrong direction. It's now headed in the right direction. Marine mobilization is sure to draw an outcry from liberal critics. Put California Governor Gavin Newsom at the front of that line. He filed suit against the Trump administration yesterday for deploying the National Guard. This was before he even learned about the Marines. The governor's office both downplayed the troop movements and called it completely uncalled for. Now, Governor Newsom and California Attorney General claimed that Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth trampled over California's sovereignty by calling up the state's National Guard without Newsom's approval. Meanwhile, Trump defended the decision yesterday, added that if protesters spit in the face of guardsmen in Los Angeles, they'll be hit harder than they have ever been hit before. Trump wrote, "If they spit, we will hit." Such disrespect will not be tolerated, the president said. Federal law typically bars the U.S. military from carrying out domestic law enforcement purposes unless the president invokes the Insurrection Act. Governor Newsom claimed that President Trump is trying to manufacture a crisis and that the president is hoping for chaos so he can justify more crackdowns, more fear, and more control. The protest began in reaction, of course, to immigration and customs enforcement raids in the City of Angels as the Trump administration moves to make good on its promise to do what he told us he would do in last year's elections. And I would imagine there are a lot of people in California who voted for Trump hoping that he would eliminate the illegals who have made their way into our country over the past number of years. This past weekend, protests devolved into violence. It left vehicles charred to a crisp, windows smashed out, and literally people closing down parts of Los Angeles. Now, wanting to get in on the mix, Representative Maxine Waters had a federal building door slammed in her face during the riots. Video shows Ms. Waters hurrying past graffiti-covered walls of a government building and up the steps to a plywood-shielded doorway where a small crowd had gathered. She's saying, "Hello, hello, hello," called out as she saw the California National Guard approaching the door to enter. She said, "I just came to use my congressional authority to check on David Herta." I don't know who David Herta is, referring to the union leader who was arrested during the weekend's protest. First time I'd ever heard of him, but his name is being passed around quite a bit now because evidently he's one of the ones who are defiant and one of the ones who believes that President Trump is overstepping his bounds. The last agent to enter turned to Maxine Waters and said, "Ma'am, our lobby is secure right now to all visitors." That didn't deter her, though. This lady's 86 years old. She's the same age as my mother, Nana Hudson. And I would not want Nana Hudson serving in the U.S. House of Representatives for no amount of money, going back and forth to Washington. Just wouldn't want her doing that. I can't imagine this 18-term Democrat wanting to continue to, and even being capable of serving. She said, as the agent told her to contact our public affairs office, she said, "Excuse me, I need to get in." She said, "I just want to see David Herta." Asked by nearby onlookers about the situation, Waters said that she said that Herta was targeted but did not know why. She said, "I don't know whether they are going to deport him. I want to report back to my caucus what is happening." Yeah, sure, she's out there on official congressional business. Sure she is. In a statement on the incident, Waters said that she went to Metropolitan Detention Center to visit Herta, who the SEIU said was caught in one of the series of ICE raids in Los Angeles County, according to the union. The union described it as a violent sweep. Ms. Waters also alluded to another viral clip that she produced, which showed her taunting armed agents standing in front of them. This was in another part of the city, literally asking them if they were going to shoot her.
What are you going to do? You going to shoot some kid who's afraid of you and run? You going to shoot an elected official? If you shoot me, you better shoot straight. I don't know why you're in my city. You did. The governor was not contacted. This is Trump and his outrageous attempt to not only target our sanctuary city, but to frighten us and intimidate us. This is wrong, and I hope that none of you will use those guns to shoot anybody.
Wow, this lady is just nuts, isn't she? Out there in the middle of this, wanting to get a response. Of course, you couldn't see the video there. I watched this a number of times, and she gets what she wants. As she starts yelling at these agents who are standing there with their riot gear on, she starts yelling at them, kind of taunting them, saying, "Hey, if you're going to shoot me, better shoot straight." She knew that she would get a crowd gathering around, and she did. Everybody had their phones out. Media runs over with their cameras. Waters, again, seen hollering at the agents, insisting they were letting themselves become unwitting pawns of President Donald Trump. She addressed assembled reporters at another opportunity and claimed that President Trump wants to have an excuse to enact martial law and goad us into a fight, she said. She said, "This is all about how they're going to treat people of color in America. They all have the guns. We know they all have the guns." So now she's going to introduce race. It's typical for situations like this. Always talk about the color of their skin. Oh, they're coming after the black people. Well, no, Maxine, they're coming after people who are in our country illegally. They're arresting people who have entered our country and who, in most cases, have broken the law once they got here, in addition to breaking the law to get here. And in some cases, they're wanted. They're actually hiding out in your sanctuary city. You're so proud of your sanctuary city. They're hiding out there because they're wanted in their country for rape and murder and robbery and who knows what. And you and the mayor and the governor are trying to protect them. You're more upset because Donald Trump is doing this. You're more upset because Donald Trump promised us in last year's election that he's going to send the ever how many they round up, could be millions, who have come into our country during the Joe Biden administration and even prior to Biden, who are here illegally. They're going to round them up. They're going to send them home. And they're starting with the worst. They're starting with people who would actually shoot you, Maxine, if they had the opportunity to. So you might want to run back to your guarded offices and your guarded condo, because these people will hurt you too. They don't care that you are a black member of Congress. They don't care. I can't imagine her being out, 86 years old, out in the streets in the middle of this chaos. Now, I'm sure she had security lurking around. I'm sure that she wasn't truly out there by herself. The video that you watch, it appears that she's just going down the street, walking down the street, and she walks up these steps to this door where this union boss is supposed to be. I'm sure there were people close by watching her, that she wasn't just truly out there by herself. But she likes to pretend that she's for all the people all the time, that she's just protecting her people. You're protecting a bunch of criminals, Maxine. You're protecting a bunch of thugs. And when they hurt you and your family, then you'll understand why we need them out of our country. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. You want to know who's pretty happy right now? And not that the riots are happening in Los Angeles, because I can't believe for 1 minute he wants this to happen. But Elon Musk is probably glad that this has shifted attention from his feud with the president in order to kind of slow that down, to tamp that down. Musk, over the past couple of days, has actually shown his support of the president and of the Defense Department and of Vice President J.D. Vance, for example, by commenting on some of the posts that they've made on X, on Truth Social, just liking them, sharing them, commenting on them, letting people know that, hey, I still support the president. I support him in the actions that he's taking in Los Angeles. And I'm sure that Elon Musk is just happy that those cameras aren't pointed at him right now. Give it a little time for things to die down, and maybe, just maybe, his relationship with Trump can be salvaged. We'll see. President Trump just said that, because now Gavin Newsom has taken Elon Musk's place. The president yesterday said that he would support the arrest of the California governor, not figuratively, not in jest, but literally, as in put him in cuffs and haul him away if he obstructs ICE operations during the violent unrest in Los Angeles. Now, I wonder what he thinks about Maxine Waters. Wonder if he wants her locked up as well. Let's rewind here for a second. Of course, this all started in California. Again, threw up a wall of resistance against ICE. Maxine Waters running around like some crazy person, talking about how proud she is of her sanctuary city and challenging the federal agents on how and why they are there in her city without the governor's permission. Raids have been ordered. Deportation sweeps began. And as they always do in sanctuary cities like Los Angeles, things went a little sideways. And because people in Los Angeles, the thugs out on the street, understand they can do this and get away with it, they took it as a prime opportunity to have some summer fun. Riots broke out. Protesters attacked ICE agents with rocks. Fires were set. The American flag was torched in broad daylight. And in the midst of all of this, Governor Gavin Newsom had the audacity to blast the Trump administration, calling the raids chaotic, reckless, and cruel. Okay, so that's nothing new. Newsom's been throwing elbows at Trump on immigration for years. This is the same man, though, remember, soon after Trump was elected and was headed to California, Gavin Newsom met him on the tarmac, literally would not allow him to enter California without meeting him first because he had heard rumors that Trump was about to cut some federal funding. He was lobbying Trump for federal dollars. Wonder if he still wants those federal dollars. Because Newsom, according to reporters, is actually daring ICE border czar Tom Homan to come arrest him. And that's kind of when things got nuclear. As President Trump stepped off Marine One, Peter Doocy of Fox News shouted out a question: should Holman take Newsom up on the dare? Trump didn't flinch. His answer: I would do it if I were Tom. Not only that, but Trump doubled down. He called Newsom a nice guy, then immediately added he's grossly incompetent and said he's done a terrible job. Then came the kicker. Trump said it would be a great thing if Newsom were arrested. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if they hauled the governor into a holding area, locked him up? Literally cuffed him and locked him up. Let that sink in. The sitting president is now publicly entertaining the arrest of a sitting governor, not for corruption, not for scandal, but for getting in the way of federal law enforcement doing their job as he should. Because Gavin Newsom cannot interrupt these ICE officers, these federal officers, from doing their job. The president has commanded them to do it, and they've got to do it. And if he gets in their way, he deserves to get arrested. Now, before we go any further, let's make this very clear. Trump didn't issue an order. He hasn't sent marshals to Sacramento, but he did crack open the door to something very serious. And you know what? Newsom reacted exactly how you would expect. Within minutes, as if he were trolling Trump, he posted on X and said this: the president of the United States just called for the arrest of a sitting governor. This is a day I hoped I would never see in America. This is an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism. Now, he forgot the fact that a sitting governor is defying a sitting president. He left that part out. I guess that's okay. So there it is. One side says they're enforcing the law. The other says that we're going to step away from a dictatorship. I mean, look, where do we even begin with this? Because we're not saying that the idea of arresting a governor isn't explosive. It is. It absolutely is. But let's not pretend the governor of California has clean hands in all this either. Newsom has openly obstructed ICE for years. His state ignores detainers. His cities shelter violent criminals. And now, as rioters throw bricks and light fires under the banner of the anti-ICE movement, he compares it to a sports celebration in Philadelphia after a win. As if burning flags and smashing police cruisers is just for fun. Not hurting anybody. They're just having fun, celebrating. Well, it's not the same. Not even close. And Tom Homan, the ICE chief in question, isn't exactly making threats either. He went on Fox and Friends yesterday and clarified. He said, no one's above the law. If you put your hands on an ICE officer or knowingly harbor an illegal alien, it's a crime, period. And when a reporter asked if Newsom or L.A. Mayor Karen Bass would be arrested, Holman said, well, if they break the law, absolutely. It wasn't a promise, wasn't a stunt. It was a statement of basic law enforcement. But Newsom knows that the boiling point is reaching a maximum. I mean, let's not forget what happened in Los Angeles. This wasn't just some political disagreement. Federal agents were physically attacked. Cars were torched. American flags burned in the streets. And behind the scenes, state leaders refused to lift a finger to try to stop it or to help. What do you think? Should federal agents, if Gavin Newsom or anybody else, if Maxine Waters gets in their way, should they arrest them? Should they take them in? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. On the text line, Faye says, Joey, I can't imagine folks in California standing by allowing Newsom to bring lawsuit against Trump. They really are the land of the fruits and nuts. The U.S. celebrates 250 years, but at the rate our country is headed, we won't last for another 250. She goes on to write, Democrats all fall in the same category. They hate America and want us eliminated. Republicans can never stoop low enough to work with Dems, as Dems are evil, and working with them would be like oil and water. Albert says, I agree with President Trump's decision to stop rebates on the purchase of EVs. If EVs are so great, they'll sell on their own accord. I would look at buying an EV truck if it had the towing range of my 2500 series Ram and could be 100% recharged in 15 minutes. They can't compete with a petroleum-powered truck. Has Ford's, GM's, and Stellantis of North America's stock increased in value now that the playing field is being leveled? If so, report it. Jordan says, so after everything going on with men and women's sports, I have a solution. Give trans their own league. They have to compete against others like them. And then they can hold a trans title. Jordan goes on to write, saying, I was banned from TikTok for explaining gender dysmorphia. I was apparently spreading hate speech when I was just stating a medical fact. It's a mental disorder. But I would also ask why there are so many trans women in women's sports, but you don't see any trans men in men's sports. Seems funny, huh? Well, Jordan, I think you know the answer to that. I don't think I need to spend any time explaining it to you. Appreciate your text, Jordan. Jennifer says, hey, Joey, it's Jennifer. A minor point, but we noticed that Christina Coleman was reporting from the riot in L.A. last night without the mic flag of Fox News on her microphone. I wondered if that was for her protection, fear that she might be attacked because she was there from Fox. What do you think about this ultimately? I think it's pure Trump derangement syndrome. I think that's the foundation of all of this insanity. Well, Jennifer, I think you're right from the standpoint that they certainly have not been discouraged from protesting because of Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, Maxine Waters' hatred of Trump. They'd rather see their city burned and torched and destroyed than to agree that Donald Trump is right, that ICE agents need to go in and clean house, get the illegals out of Los Angeles, get them out of the country. Appreciate your texts. Texts are always welcome. Emails are welcome. joey@joeyhudson.com. Comments on the MyPillow message line are welcome as well. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com to get the very best price possible. And boy, does Mike Lindell still have some Giza Dream Sheets available. All sizes, all colors. Go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Joey. The BBC News reported that Greta Thunberg, another idiot out there, arrived in Israel yesterday. The Madeleine was taken to the port of Ashdod in Israel after being intercepted in the early hours of the morning. The Israeli Foreign Ministry shared a picture of activist Thunberg, who was aboard the vessel in front of an Israeli flag. It's also said that she and 11 other passengers were undergoing medical examinations upon their arrival. The Israeli Foreign Ministry posted on X the selfie yacht, because that's what they named this yacht. The selfie yacht was docked at Ashdod Port a short while ago. The passengers are currently undergoing medical examinations to ensure they're in good health. Earlier, they had posted, in case you missed it, the selfie yacht is safely making its way to the shores of Israel. The passengers are safe and were provided with sandwiches and water and are expected to return to their home countries. The tiny amount of aid that wasn't consumed by the celebrities, meaning supposedly, they were making this trip to take food to Gaza. Evidently, they ate most of it on the way. According to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, again, the tiny amount of aid that wasn't consumed by the, quote, celebrities will be transferred to Gaza through real humanitarian channels. More than 1,200 aid trucks have entered Gaza from Israel within the past 2 weeks, and close to 11 million meals were transferred by the GHF direct to civilians in Gaza. There are ways to deliver aid to Gaza Strip. They do not involve provocations and selfies. They have nailed Greta Thunberg. All she wants are she and David Hogg, same way. I talked to you yesterday about David Hogg and how he is overshadowing the DNC chairman. Greta Thunberg's the same way. All she wants is to be in the limelight. She hadn't been in the headlines lately, so she thought, I'll set out to Israel. I'll let them know I'm on my way, that I'm going to bring food to Gaza, knowing she'd make headlines. We first heard the boat had been intercepted near the Egyptian coast about 5:30 a.m. yesterday. The activist group, they're called Freedom Flotilla Coalition, they organized the journey, said that it was seeking to defy the Israeli blockade and deliver aid to Gaza, and that the crew had been kidnapped by Israeli forces. So Greta Thunberg, I guess, been kidnapped, according to this group. Israel called it a media provocation whose sole purpose was to gain publicity. Bingo, you're right. And said that the crew were being taken safely to Israel where they'd be deported. The BBC's international editor, Jeremy Bowen, writes that it was clear the boat was never going to reach Gaza and that its mission was designed to produce controversy and debate. Yesterday afternoon, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, again, they organized the boat's journey towards Gaza, says it has not been allowed contact with any of the 12 passengers since the vessel was interrupted by Israel. In a post on X, the group says it has not heard from them in over 19 hours. Now, this was last night. It adds that while Israel says the volunteers have not been harmed, they will be experiencing, get this, the psychological impact of being forcibly abducted. They think that Greta Thunberg has been abducted by the Israeli army. They go on to write, the Israeli foreign minister said earlier that passengers were undergoing medical examinations to ensure they're in good health. The coalition also thanks those fighting for our team and calls on supporters to keep the pressure up on states to stop Israel's siege of Gaza. It's funny that the media really hasn't paid a whole lot of attention to this. You have to search pretty hard to find it. The LA riots, unfortunately, have stolen Greta's thunder. Her timing was a little bit off. She didn't anticipate the LA riots. They've stolen her headlines. Wow. By the way, speaking of headlines, speaking of terror, more than 100 Democrats voted against a GOP-led resolution to condemn the accused terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Here's the story. Now, it passed. That's the good news. Passed 280 to 113. Now, the other good news is, and I promised you at the beginning of the show, that there was some good news in this. 75 Democrats actually joined Republicans to support the bill. 6 lawmakers, 5 Democrats, and 1 Republican voted present. They're just on the record of being there, but didn't vote either way. That's what you do when you're sitting on the fence. The legislation was introduced by Representative Gabe Evans of Colorado. This, of course, in response to the attack. Democrat lawmakers made clear that they were opposed to the language in the resolution that they felt was politically charged, as if the attack wasn't politically charged. In addition to condemning the attack, Representative Evans' resolution also appeared to rebuke blue-leaning sanctuary jurisdictions that were at odds with federal immigration authorities, and he condemned illegal immigrants who overstayed their visas as well. Now, a second bill, sponsored by Jeff Van Drew, a Republican from New Jersey, more broadly condemned the rise in anti-Semitic attacks in the U.S. That legislation netted much wider bipartisan support, passing 400-0 with just 2 lawmakers voting present. But Evans's resolution more specifically noted that the case of terror suspected Mohammed Sabri Solomon, who overstayed a tourist visa and a subsequent work authorization, demonstrates the dangers of not removing from the country aliens who fail to comply with the terms of their visas. The Egyptian national is facing federal charges after allegedly attempting to set fire to peaceful demonstrators who were protesting Hamas's continued possession of Israeli hostages in Gaza. Set them on fire. Wow. The Trump administration has vowed that he and his family will be deported from the U.S. You know, his family was arrested as well, and a liberal judge stepped in to intervene. Evans' resolution also affirms that free and open communication between state and local law enforcement and their federal counterparts remains the bedrock of public safety and is necessary in preventing future terror attacks. Again, at least some Democrats realize there's a problem here and supported these 2 Republican-led resolutions. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, you know, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Remember, just a few weeks ago at the end of the legislative session, I talked with you about the pay raise that South Carolina legislators voted on. Well, it actually wasn't a pay raise, okay? Not exactly. It wasn't an increase to their salary. Their salary remains at just over $10,000 a year. What they decided to do was to increase their monthly in-district spending amount from $1,000 to $2,500. Well, the governor did not veto it. Some speculated that he might. He did not. He let it stay in the budget. However, one of their own is now challenging that. Senator Wes Clymer, a Republican from Rock Hill, filed a request on Monday. He and his attorney, former Senator Dick Harpootlian of Columbia, a Democrat, contend that the $18,000 annual raise approved as part of the state budget violates the state constitution. They're asking the South Carolina Supreme Court to step in. Clymer and fellow plaintiff Carol Herring, a Rock Hill resident and a friend of Clymer's, are asking the state's highest court to throw out the raises before they take effect with the July 1st start of the fiscal year. The state Supreme Court agreed Monday that their request to take the case directly, which would allow a quick resolution. The legal filing reads, for a General Assembly to vote to give its own members public money is akin to a judge presiding over its own trial, or to a police officer investigating his own alleged conduct. So the central question could become whether the state's constitution's ban on legislators increasing their own per diems actually applies to the raises. Generally, a per diem is considered a daily allowance for their meals, for staying in Columbia, a hotel room, for buying fuel for their cars, driving to Columbia. Legislators receive subsistence for each day they're in session. Currently, it's $240 a day. The payment is meant to cover the cost of food and lodging while they're in Columbia, though they don't have to spend that on food or on lodging. Some legislators commute back and forth. And keep in mind, those in Columbia who live in our state's capital are paid the same thing as those who live here in the upstate who have to drive a couple hours. Each legislator gets the same amount, no matter how far they live from the state house and whether they get a hotel room or not. The daily amount can change yearly, too, by the way. It's based on the prior year's average daily rate for hotels in downtown Columbia. Now, that's in addition to legislators' annual salary of $10,400. Now, in their defense, that $10,400 has not changed since 1990. So you could make a pretty fair argument that maybe they are due a raise. The state's chief accountant says that the in-district compensation, which again is set to increase from $1,000 to $2,500 per month, is not per diem. So they're playing with words here. They're playing with the terminology. Rather, according to the chief accountant, it's considered personal income and taxed accordingly, unlike the designated per diem. This, according to Kim McLeod, spokesman for the Comptroller General's office. So in lieu of, or in their lawsuit, Senator Clymer, former Senator Harpootlian, argue that the combined $22,400 legislators receive currently for their annual salary and in-district compensation counts as a per diem. The money pays legislators for their services on a daily basis while in session, making it a daily funding allotment, the lawsuit argues. Now, the 1868 version of the South Carolina Constitution was the first to use the term per diem in referencing legislators' pay. According to the lawsuit, the term was meant to differentiate between legislators' salary, it was then $6 a day, and mileage reimbursements. Similar language carried over to the 1890 Constitution that still governs the state. Now, why did they need mileage reimbursement back in 1868? Was that to buy a bale of hay for their horse or whatever? Harpootlian told reporters in the 1800s there was no salary. There was no in-district expense. It was all per diem. Along with prohibiting legislators from increasing their own per diems, the state constitution also requires they receive an allowance for mileage in order to travel to the state house and that they get the same amount of pay for meeting outside of normal session as they do during the session. Columbia attorney and government transparency advocate John Craigle had initially offered to join the lawsuit but changed his mind after learning the Comptroller General did not consider the money to be a per diem, he said. Craigle still disagrees with the hike conceptually, he said. Now, again, last month, he wrote a letter to Governor McMaster asking him to veto the pay raise, which, of course, Governor McMaster did not do. Mr. Craigle said his understanding is that if the raise is personal income, it's not covered by the state constitution. He said this, told this to the South Carolina Daily Gazette. He said of the argument that money counts as a per diem, I don't think you can use that as the basis. So there's a difference of opinion here, and the state Supreme Court, they're going to step in and have to make this decision, make this determination. The in-district compensation is meant to pay for legislative expenses outside of the state house. Again, there's no rules or regulations on how they spend it. They can spend it any way they want to. It's intended to help pay for like postage and printing to send to communicate with their constituents. The money is clearly meant to compensate legislators for their day-to-day work at the state house, according to the lawsuit, though. Legislators receive the in-district compensation in monthly allotments, according to the South Carolina Daily Gazette, which are directly deposited into their bank account. Again, they can spend the money as they please, without providing receipts or any other proof that it went towards legislative expenses, according to Senator Clymer. Clymer said, "This is income, and the in-district expense as appropriated in the budget is a thinly veiled increase in legislators' income. It is a pay increase that takes effect in real time," he said. Last time legislators increased the in-district compensation, again, back in the 90s, 1994 to be exact, when they voted to increase it at the time from $300 to $1,000 a month. The raise then, though, did not start until 1995, technically a new legislature following the 1994 election. Now, this is an argument that I have tried to make, and I believe you shouldn't vote for a pay raise for yourself. So if you think that you need a pay raise, which I'm not arguing with the fact that they probably need a pay raise, but vote on it to take effect after the 2026 election. And if your constituents are concerned about you voting for a pay raise for yourself, then they have the opportunity of not returning you to Columbia to benefit from it. If they reelect you, then you should receive it. The increase was meant to offset inflation, of course, according to Senator Shane Martin, a Pauline Republican. He said on the Senate floor when he introduced the proposal during the budget debate in that chamber. Now, wouldn't you have loved to have been part of that conversation of those who wanted this pay increase, but nobody wanted to be the one to propose it? I guess Shane Martin drew the short straw, huh? and he's the one who had to stand up and publicly encourage his colleagues to give themselves a raise. Now, you need to make note that there is a list, 37 legislators so far, who say they will not accept it. Celeste Davis, for example, my buddy Doug Gillum of Buffalo, Patrick Haddon, Randy Ligon, John McCravey of Greenwood, Alan Morgan in Greer, Paul Wickensheimer, Mark Willis, just a few. If you want to see the whole list, go to joeyhudson.com. I'll have it posted on my website, joeyhudson.com. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.